definitely believe what their reality is.
And morphic resonance talks about the transfer of intelligence almost without even being able to speak the words.
We started something that went viral, and before things like that happened.
That something like that from a bedroom or something can just go, around the world. It's
kind of strange.
Yeah, I would say the situation is kind of blown out of proportion. It's not a big deal.
It's just like this hive mind, and things come together, and once they happen, it starts to unfold.
The significance of it is pretty mindless.
Who would believe it? Who cares? It's like, okay.
Yeah, living in Marin in the 70s was very, very safe time.
Playing sports, smoking weed, listening to music.
It was a good time to be a teenager back then.
And it just seemed like everyone was doing this. We had no idea how idyllic San Rafael was.
There was a whole music revolution going on in Marin. There was a lot of hippies. Keith and Donna from the Grateful Dead lived down the street from us. Carlos Santana was, a couple miles down the other direction.
At San Rafael High, at lunchtime when I was a freshman, I could walk 2 blocks down to the Grateful Dead headquarters and get free buttons and stickers and badges and anything else we wanted to get.
It was a beautiful time to grow up, but there was no diversity, that's for sure.
There are 2 different camps to who originated this kind of legendary number.
To tell you the truth, I really don't understand it. 420 became what it is.
I know the Waldos claim that they had thought it up, but I'm not sure that's the case.
They're the 420 Waldos, who have an incredible amount of documentation.
Yeah, the Waldos are primarily responsible for the promotion of the number.
They didn't start 420, but they did a great job to promote 420. That's how I see the Waldos, as great promoters.
Do you know the origin of 420 is kind of interesting? In the 70s in San Rafael, California, north of us here, a group of high school boys who called themselves the Waldos because they would hang out and smoke next to a wall every day at 420.
And if you looked at their website, it would be irrefutable who was the originator of this term.
I don't know whether they believe it because they've been saying it so long.
It could be that they picked it up and started using it because they all went to school together, and maybe it was just a selective memory after the fact that they started it.
But they know that Brad was the instigator of all that.
This is a story about the guy who invented the number because he was the Ferris Bueller on steroids in high school.
What I always have believed from the mid-70s is that Brad Bann and Dew Dixon, and I don't know if Puff was there or not, were getting high down at the Dixons, and Beeb came out with 420.
We smoked that weed inside the bedroom, and we really, really got high. It was like for the first time. We looked at the clock. Brad said, "Oh, it's 420. I said, "Wow, we should do this every day at 420.
The huge controversy came after somebody wrote in the High Times magazine, where did the term really first originate? And that's when Steve Capper started getting involved and proving where it had come from. The Beebs, supposedly Brad Bann and I guess Guy Perry were saying, and Dave Dixon were saying, no, it was the Beeb and the Dew that were the originators. So who knows? They may have been, but I wasn't there.
I was kind of like into language and words and sounds. I was making a bunch of sounds.
Now, he also came up with EOT. I mean, I can tell you like a whole lexicon. EOT, which is pretty much like aloha, can mean anything.
He should have gone into branding and been a branding expert because he'd come up with stuff. He named the Waldos the Waldos.
I don't know, just being a little different. I just saw things differently in a comical view, you know.
My name, he called me Bone Boy. because I was tall and I was very slender.
A squeaker was a girlfriend or your mom.
Dan Dixon had an afro, so he called him Puff.
A cat was a coo. A dog was a dee.
He had this guy, Dave Anderson, he called him Hello Andy. I have no idea why he did that.
I'm Hello Andy, and I have no idea why he called me that.
There was all these different names for everything. So it only made sense that 420 was something that came out of the mind of Brad Band. It made perfect sense to me.
He sings for the 420 band. In fact, he's the lead singer and songwriter.
We got a reunion that our band is playing tonight.
In years past, I've sung in all kinds of clubs, as singing the standards as like a Frank Sinatra kind of a sound.
It's all over. It's in Australia, it's in Europe, it's in South America, it's in Canada. It's everywhere. And that's why I think that there's such a competition for the rights to own who invented it. Who is the Magellan of 420?
Well, as I said, I'm probably going to be putting a foot in each camp when I say this. I say both are equally responsible. Based on my esoteric reasoning of morphic resonance and field of consciousness.
I know the truth, and the truth cuts through all of the bullshit and the conspiracy theories, so that's what I find interesting.
Where it actually originated was the Waldos, but it could have been Brad Band and Dave Dixon as well. I don't know.
The best outcome for this would that for them to collectively come together and create some bigger a bigger reason for 420.
I think it's probably a feel-good story because, everybody knows about something we started like 50 years ago, and it's still going on strong.
It's like, okay, so.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there watching for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing.